As someone who is hypercritical of typical social worker client relationships and binaries, and all the complex and potentially harmful power dynamics that are embedded within them, I realized in that moment when I felt attacked and alone and isolated and stupid and sweaty and everything, why you need a facilitator in a group. Someone who is there to respectfully and not in an overbearing way to take away from the learning, but who is there to ensure that the learning is actually taking place. Someone to connect with the person on the losing side of the storming stage. And someone who can ask the questions about the current situation that might not be seen from the eye of the storm. When you have group members storming, you can't see because you're surrounded by clouds. And I was right in the middle of it. Right in the middle of it. Or is it that I believe that I cannot do anything, that these processes of oppression have me so worn down that I believe that nobody can do anything? Even thinking about it now, the weight, I feel tired. I feel sad for clients, whatever a client is. I feel sad, I feel angry. I feel like tears are right here in my eyes because these systems are so big. And how can one person solve them? I find myself in class, and I guess in my life as a social worker, very quick to judge people. Especially I'm finding in this small group that we're in. This small group I'm judging. But I guess I do that because they're not a client, right? I give myself freedom to judge others when they're not constructed as a client and when I am not constructed as a social worker. I'm free to judge whomever I like, right? We're not in this worker-client bond, so I'm allowed to judge you because I'm off the clock. But when does that social work, when does myself, the self as a social worker begin, and where do I end? It is all one. And that's challenging for me, I think, realizing that I'm guilty of judging. And if I'm guilty of judging people in my class, then I'm guilty of judging people who are constructed as my client. But that's just it, is like what's happening in class is it's not any different than my practice, whatever practice might be. And what I'm learning more and more is that reflexive practice with an X, not reflective. It's not something that I can hang up. I can't hang up my coat of reflexivity at the door. I don't leave the social worker behind. And I think it was Martha who said today in class that we put up these barriers around ourselves, around the self, around myself, and we pick and we choose who gets to come in, who gets to be a part of my circle. And it reminds me of those mirrors in bathing suit stores. Frankly, it's weird, but it reminds me of just that when you go into these bathing suit shops, the mirrors are more tan. I mean, they're very Eurocentric. They're made to make white people look more tanned, but they're slimming, and they make you look better, a better version of yourself. It's the image of yourself that you wish you were. But it's an illusion. It's a complete illusion. And I have, and I continue to be so guilty of carefully selecting who gets to come in and who gets left out. None of us are different. And I'm realizing still, that it's like a bathing suit mirror. It's an illusion. It's this illusion that I've created around myself that tells me, the self, that I am good. I am not racist. I am not homophobic. I am not elitist. I'm not ageist. I'm not ableist. But everyone thinks the same as me that I surround myself with, and that's a problem. It's a problem, and I've never thought about it like that, but it's a problem. And in my practice and in my life, I need to make sure that any mirror I'm looking in is under harsh, natural light. Because it has to be truth. It cannot be an illusion, and I have a lot of work to do. I think why I love policy is because I do believe that things can change. And it's because I believe that everything is political. Things don't happen in a vacuum. Neither will my practice. My practice is political, even when I don't believe it to be. And I think that this will be my biggest takeaway, is that things sometimes are more messy and more complicated than even I can wrap my head around. And it will take me, as someone of privilege, to work on myself more than I work on others.